What about colleges?
You may be seated. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is the case of Albert Marsal versus Algeria. The prosecution will be representing Algeria, and the defense will be representing the defendant, Albert Marsal. Marsal is being charged by the prosecution of first-degree murder. The alleged crime happened at a French beach house later that day after an altercation between the victim and the defendant. The defendant does not deny the claims, but claims self-defense. The defense is asking for a lesser charge of first-degree manslaughter. You, the jury, will decide what charges the defendant is guilty of. It is critical that you make your decision based solely on the information given by the defense and the prosecution. Any likeness of the lawyers or the witnesses should be disregarded. You will decide what really happened. This man's life is in your hands. Make your decision wisely. It will be my duty to instruct you on the law and keep order of the court. The law states that first-degree murder is classified as premeditated, willful, hate-filled act. The law states that first-degree manslaughter is death caused by intent to cause serious injury. It is the job of the prosecution to prove that the defendant is guilty of first-degree murder. If the prosecution is successful, the defendant will be publicly executed. If the defense is successful in proving manslaughter of the first degree, the defendant will serve up to 20 years in prison. At the end of the trial, the jury will decide what charges to bring against the defendant. The formal proceedings are about to begin, and I'd like to remind the public to remain silent. The prosecution can now give their opening statement.
Good afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen of the court, Your Honor, and members of the jury. We are here today to examine the crime committed by Monsieur Marsal, and at the same time, we will be uncovering the uncomfortable details of his life. I will begin by asking a simple question. Do each of you here today love someone? And of course, by this I mean, do you care so much for them that you put their needs before your own? Most of you here, with one particular exception, have answered yes to this question. Love, and by extension, the range of emotions we are capable of expressing, are arguably what makes us human. So I ask you, if someone is leading a life without love or hate, what kind of life can they be leading? And if by chance they are living this life, can they be said to be living a human life at all? These are unfortunately the questions we have been pushed to ask about Monsieur Marsal. Of course, we already know that this man, if he may be called that, has killed another. We, as members of a civil society, can hardly even imagine the thoughts that went through his mind when he finally chose to kill the Arab man. However, we also know that upon examination of the body, the defendant shot the man 5 separate times. Now, the defense would like us to believe that he did so in an act of self-defense. If we were to believe this, I could believe 1 shot, but 5. So let me ask you, if a man is sitting on a beach by himself, even with a knife for his own protection, can he be considered enough of a threat to warrant being shot 5 times? The answer to this is, of course, no. This compels me, as it should the rest of you, to believe that this was an intentional act of first-degree murder. However, this isn't what disturbs me most about the defendant. Perhaps what is most spine-chilling is his complete lack of human emotion. Prior to the event of the shooting, Monsieur Marsal's mother passed away. We know from witness affidavits that he failed to show sadness or to mourn in this usually trying time. In addition to this, he never openly expressed remorse for the horrendous crime he committed. So the question here is, What kind of person can Monsieur Moussault really be? If he refuses to admit he loved his mother, didn't mourn her loss, and doesn't show remorse for the crime he committed, can he even really be considered a person at all? But maybe the better question is, if he doesn't show or express emotion, does he deserve to live even a shell of a human life at all? We will bring forth to the stand Bill Klein, Paul Bisset, Marc Louis, and Thomas Perez to testify towards the fact that Monsieur Moussault committed a first-degree murder and should be sentenced to death by guillotine. Thank you.
The defense can now give their opening statement.
May I please the court, counsel, and members of the jury. My name is Claire Lee. My counsel, Richard Zhang, and I represent Albert Moussault in the case of the Republic of Algeria versus Albert Moussault. Now just imagine this. Your friend invites you to a fun beach getaway on a beautiful weekend. Unbeknownst to you, a group of Arab men are stalking your friend. These men have threatening weapons. Now, this is a terrifying situation for anyone, and this situation happened to Albert Moussault. In the summer of 1940, Albert Moussault went to the beach with his friends to have a good time, but his friend was threatened and cut with a knife. And then later on that day, Albert Moussault acted in self-defense and shot the man. This is not a case of murder. This is a case of self-defense. The defense will bring up Monsieur Moussault, Marie, Salamano, Celeste, and Raymond Sintes to prove to the court that Albert Moussault had no intention in killing the Arab men unless his life was in danger or his friend's life was in danger. Now, the prosecution here will try and manipulate the court to rule in favor of a death penalty of first-degree murder. The prosecution will bring up Thomas Perez, Bill Klein, Paul Bisset, and the examining magistrate. All of these witnesses have limited engagement with Albert Moussault, and also the prosecution will try and distract the court from, the prosecution will try and distract the court from a case of self-defense to a case of not crying at his mother's funeral. Now I ask you, throughout this case, please keep in mind, are we going to instill capital punishment onto this man, Albert Moussault, for killing Arab men for self-defense? Thank you.
The prosecution can now call their first witness.
The prosecution calls Bill Klein to the stand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
You may be seated.
Upon meeting Moussault, would you say he is a man of great emotion?
No, he seemed very, very lonely and kept to himself while we were talking.
And in any of your interactions with him, did he show any despair regarding his mother's recent passing?
No, he almost seemed as if he wasn't very involved in his mother's life to even care.
And because of this, would you say that in your experience with greeting relatives of deceased residents in the past, that he acted in an unusual way?
Most definitely, he seemed very, very, very odd.
And during his time at the home, did he exhibit any behavior that would indicate his lack of emotion and his lack of feeling towards his mother's death?
Not quite. He just didn't want to see his mother or spend much time at the home.
And finally, would you describe to the court your overall impression of the man?
He seemed very, very lonely. That's all I can say.
No further questions.
The defense can now cross-examine.
No papers.
Here we go. So, how many times have you met Marcel?
Twice.
That's right. Okay, so in only meeting someone twice, can you fully understand what they're going through, or what they're trying to, or what? Sorry. Would you understand why that he put his mother in your care? Pardon me.
Well, some people aren't as close to their mothers as others, so I can understand on first impression that he's not very close with his mother.
So you understand why he would put his mother in your care?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Would you say that you would get a full understanding of who he is by only 2 encounters with him?
Yes, but first impressions are very important, and my first impression of him was that he didn't care very much about his mother.
Sure, yes, indeed. First impressions are important, but does that justify, not justify? Thank you. Yeah.
You may be dismissed. The prosecution can call their next witness.
The prosecution calls Paul Bisset to the stand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
You may be seated.
Can you describe to the court how Monsieur Marceau acted when asked if he wanted to see his mother one last time?
He almost seemed like confused. He said he did not want to see her.
So you would say he kind of had a mindset of which he didn't want to see his mother at all.
Yes, I would believe so, although when I asked him why he wouldn't want to see her, he said he didn't know.
Interesting. And in your time visiting with him, did he do anything unusual or unethical when near his mother's casket?
I mean, he fell asleep at one point, and we smoked a cigarette together.
Doesn't seem very ethical. And in your conversations with him, did he ever convey to you any strong emotions regarding his mother or his mother's passing?
No, he almost disregarded it.
And during the time that you spent with him, did he present any obvious differences in the way he acted when regarding to the people around him, say the other residents, and or the people you've seen in the past grieving for lost relatives?
Yeah, he was completely different. Most people are quite sad about someone who's close to them.
So you would say that he just seemed indifferent to the whole situation and seemed detached almost?
Yes, completely.
And would you say that he seemed intelligent and emotionally stable?
I mean, I only met him once. I mean, he didn't seem unstable, but he didn't have the normal reaction most people.
But he didn't seem expressive, I see.
Yes.
Thank you.
Defense can now cross-witness.
Before I start, I would like to remind everyone, this is not a case of him not crying at his mother's funeral. This is a case of him on an act of self-defense. Now, what's your relationship with Marcel?
I don't have too much of a relationship. I just met him once.
How many hours do you estimate you've met him?
Maybe 12. Maybe 12.
So you're basing your judgment on 12 hours.
Correct.
Okay. So you said that he showed no emotion. Am I correct?
Correct.
And you agree with me that smoking and sleeping might be a way to just relax and try and forget and try and relieve stress.
Sure.
So he could have been in a stressful mindset, right?
Yes, of course. Could have been stressed. Stressful time.
So, sorry, I just need to recall your affidavit. You don't know much about him.
No, not much at all.
Yeah. Okay. So, you don't know how. So you just don't know much about him. Okay. That's all I need to know. And yeah. Thank you.
I'd like to remind the public again to remain silent. You are now dismissed.
Stop laughing.
The prosecution can now call for the next witness.
The prosecution would like to call Mark Louis, the examining magistrate, to the stand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and only the truth, so help you God?
You may be seated.
When you initially had questioned Monsieur Morsant, what were your first impressions of the man?
Seemed very distant from his mother.
Speak up, please.
Seemed very distant from his mother. Seemed like he had no voice for what he could
No remorse, you say? Thank you. In your experiences with greeting relatives of the deceased, would you say that Monsieur had acted in a similar fashion?
No.
Can you elaborate?
It seemed as if he wasn't upset with his mother's death.
Can you project your voice a little bit louder?
Thank you. And as I understand, you talked to Monsieur about Christianity and God. How did you respond to that?
He said he didn't believe in God. It's very offensive.
No faith? Thank you. When you had asked Monsieur about the incident, he fired 5 shots, correct? Did he fire them all at once? Can you elaborate?
He waited a little bit after the first shot.
A hesitation?
Yes.
Did he give any reason for this hesitation? Not at all. Thank you, that will be all.
Now, Mr. Louis, what is your relationship with Marisol?
I've only talked to him a couple times. I don't have much of a relationship with him.
Okay. And you briefly said that he had no reaction at all. Isn't it possible that everyone is different and they react differently to different events?
Yes, that's true.
Okay.
Speak up.
And what is your belief in the relationship between people and God?
I think God is just the most important thing in the world. I think everybody needs to believe in God. Everyone needs to have faith. And I would love to help yourself through this time. Help them believe in God.
Okay, but aren't there good people in this world who don't believe in God?
That could be. I believe they should believe in God.
All right. And were you at the scene when Marisol shot the Arab man?
No.
Do you know his moral intentions? Thank you.
You may be dismissed. Prosecution can now call the next witness.
Prosecution calls Thomas Perez to the stand. Sir, allow me to assist.
Thank you.
Please place your hand on the Bible. Thank you. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and only the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank
You
you.
may be seated.
So you knew Marsal's mother very well?
Biblically.
Wonderful.
Public, quiet.
Did Monsieur's mother ever complain about Monsieur any more than any of the other residents of your home?
No, I wouldn't say so.
No.
All of us complain about our relatives not visiting enough, not knowing enough about us, or not caring about us. I mean, why wouldn't they take care of us themselves?
Thank you. On the day of your meeting with Monsieur, did he seem very disappointed or in despair, or even grief at all?
I would say that in my many years of life, I've seen people grieve in very different ways. Some people shut down, some people show no emotion, some people deny that it even happened. I believe that Marcel, who is the son of my Lydia, was doing just that, shutting down.
So you'd say he was emotionally distraught?
I would think so.
Did he show any visible signs of this, however?
Not necessarily.
Thank you. Was Monsieur sorry, was Monsieur disrespectful at all on the day of his mother's funeral?
He didn't look at her. Like, during her wake, I should say. Excuse me. He didn't want to see her body. He didn't want to look at her coffin. I suppose that could be a sign of disrespect. I guess I was having a rather hard time walking about, but I'm an old man. I'm not weak or frail. I don't need help. I would like help once in a while. Thank you very much. But I do believe that he just was distracted. He was very much in a haze the whole day. From what I observed from myself.
I think that will be all.
The defense?
Did you meet Monsieur Marcel before the funeral?
Can't say that I did. I didn't.
Did you meet him after the funeral?
No.
Okay. So, do you agree that everyone grieves in a different way?
I very much do agree with that statement.
And you say that people can grieve by shutting their emotions down. Just like Albert Marceau did during the funeral.
I would say so, yes.
So, do you think Lydia would have raised a violent child?
No. In fact, I remember her speaking very fondly of him in her last few days. She spoke of when they would dance around the living room with him standing on her shoes and just going about, and when they would go on picnics together at the local park and things like that. Very nostalgic things.
No talking.
Thank you.
You're now dismissed. Adjourn.
Honorable Mrs. Pierce.
You may be seated. The prosecution can now call their next witness. Or the defense can call their next witness.
I call Mary Condola to the stand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
You may be seated.
State your name and occupation for the court.
I'm Marie Cardona, and I work at the office with myself.
What's your relationship with Marcel?
I'm his friend, but we were planning to get married.
How did he act whenever he was with you?
He was nice, but he seemed pretty distant.
Would he act violently with you?
No, he never had.
Do you think he would have any intention in killing the man?
No.
Thank you.
Are you going to cross-examine?
Yes.
Get up
May I
here.
come to the stand?
Yes.
Thank you. Madame Marie, what was the first time that you had met him yourself?
I met him at the office when I started working.
Was this the day of any significance to him as an individual?
I don't think
No?
Objection, scope of the witness.
Sustained. Rephrase the question.
The day that you had become more friendly with yourselves, I know you met him at the office, but you hadn't actually met with him per se. Is this true? So on the day that you had talked with him and got to know him, was this day of any significance?
so. Yes.
What was that?
We went swimming at the beach, and then we saw a Fernando film, and then we ended up going back to his place.
Now, can you recall a proper event in his life that he may have mentioned?
His mother had just passed away.
Okay. And when you and him had gone out to the movies, you say, and the beach, right? What kind of actions did he show? What were your impressions of him as a man?
He was pretty good. Like, he wasn't sad about his mom at all, surprisingly.
Objection, relevance.
Sustained.
Thank you. And finally, when you said that you proposed to marry, is this correct? What had been his response to that question?
He said, sure.
He said, sure. Just like that.
Can you speak up, please?
He said, sure.
Sure. Did he express any emotion to this question?
No, he didn't really care, but he agreed.
Okay, thank you. That'll be all.
You're dismissed. The defense can now call their next witness.
The defense will Salamano to the stand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
You can be seated.
Now, what is your relationship with Marisol?
He was my neighbor. He was somewhat a friend. I've known him for a while.
Okay, and what was your first impression of him?
Oh, that was kind of a long time ago. I know he was a little boy, friends with mama. Yeah.
Okay, and has he ever helped you in any way?
Yeah. When a tame dog ran away, he talked to me and helped through that hard time.
Okay, and does Marisol to you seem like a violent person?
No. He was good. He was always kind to my damn dog.
All right, no further questions, Your Honor.
Cross-examine.
Yes. Monsieur Salamano, so I understand that your dog was lost, and Monsieur Marcel...
No. He ran away.
He ran away.
Lovely.
Yes. Thank you for the clarification.
Yeah.
So,
Silence from the public, please. Thank you.
from what I understand, Monsieur had helped you with finding your dog?
Oh, I did not find my dog. My dog is dead. He got ran over by a truck because he was stupid and decided to run away from what I know
Okay,
best.
irrelevant.
Now,
He did not help me.
before you had known... I'm sorry, is there something else?
Yes, I was answering your question. He did not help me find the dog,
Mhm.
but my poor heart, he helped me. He was like a therapist for me. Because that damn dog.
Thank you. And so you know that his mother had been in an old person's home. What are your impressions of him putting his mother in this old person's home?
Well,
Objection, relevance.
Sustained.
I still answer the question.
No. Keep it on the topic of Marcel, please.
Yes, thank you. That would be all.
I have to go to answer.
You can be dismissed.
If anybody see my dog and it turns out not to be dead, let me know. Bring the dog.
I'll call our next witness.
What?
The defense would like to,
Quiet.
the defense would like to call Monsieur Mason to stand. Do you say, excuse me, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
You may be seated.
Please state your name for the court.
My name is Monsieur Marcel.
What's your relationship, what's your relation to Monsieur Mason?
I met him at my beachfront when my good friend Raymond brought him over with his beautiful girlfriend.
Objection, relevance.
Overruled.
Continue. Sorry.
Like that.
Okay. Was there anything specific that happened on that day?
Yes. In the morning, when we decided to go for a swim, we wanted to go down to the beach, and there were two Arab men, and they were very violent. One of them aggressively butted their butt against Raymond, who proceeded to defend himself by hitting the victim. I took on the one on the right because he was trying to attack Raymond as well. The other one decided to take out a knife and cut Raymond on his arm and his lip.
During that situation, was Monsieur Marcel acting violently?
No, I would even say he was the calmest one there.
And that's all. Thank you.
Nothing again.
How would you describe Monsieur Marcel's emotional state on the day of the crime?
Objection. Scope of the witness.
Overruled.
I would say he lacked very little emotion, but he was very calm. You know, he's a decent man.
And after the event, the initial encounter that you mentioned previously, you returned back.
Please remain silent. What do you think this is? A school courtyard? This is a courtroom. Continue.
And you,
Do you need to be escorted out? Continue.
you returned to your beach house, as I understand it.
Yes, get Raymond home.
And later that evening, Monsieur Marcel left the house.
Mm-hmm.
When doing so, did he give you any information as to why he did that?
He said he just wanted to go stroll on the beach. He just said it was really hot, so he wanted to go to the beach.
And do you recall if he suspiciously carried any weapons with him?
I don't recall him carrying anything.
And in your previous encounter with the Arab men, you say that Mersault was acting very calm.
Yes, definitely.
Did he ever, did he ever act in any such way that would give you any suspicion as to why he was so calm?
No, not really. He was just calm because he was probably worried. I mean, we have coping mechanisms for why, dangerous things happen. Raymond's his friend, and he was getting attacked by an Arab man, and that was probably his coping mechanism.
No further questions.
May be dismissed. Call your next. Now call the next witness.
The defense would like to call Raymond Sintes to the stand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yeah, sure. You can be seated. Please take off your sunglasses. Thank you.
Please state your name for the court.
My name is Raymond Sintes.
What's your relation to Monsieur Mersault?
We were good friends.
Has he helped you in the past?
Yeah, he helped me with my issues with my mistress.
On that day, did you feel like you were threatened?
Yeah, because the man slashed my arm and my face. My beautiful face.
So, later that day, did you come back to the beach?
I was like walking with him on the beach and we spotted the man, but then I was tired so I went home. Well, not home, but like, I had just been to the hospital and dealt with all the problems, so I was like, well, might as well, just go take a nap.
In your affidavit, you said that Monsieur Mersault had prevented you from shooting the man.
Yes.
And what did you say after that?
Well, I was just kind of, might as well give him the gun, just in case the man decided to attack him, because I wasn't planning on staying on the beach, so, self-protection. You gotta do what you gotta do.
And previously on that day, were the Arabs acting violently?
Yeah, they were like following me around and being all weird, but then on the beach they decided to like attack us, and that was like, whoa, why would you do that?
Yeah, and these Arabs were stalking you, right?
Yeah, they were.
And you were frightened?
Yes, I was. I was slightly concerned about it.
Thank you.
Are you gonna cross it?
Monsieur Salt. As I understand it, you are the person who gave Monsieur Mersault the weapon he used to kill the Arab man.
Yeah.
Do you recall why you gave it to him?
Well, I gave it to him because the guys were like stalking us and they were attacking us, so like you need self-protection if you're gonna go up against them or at least be somewhere near them. What if they had attacked him and he didn't have a weapon? What was he gonna do?
It's also true that you were walking with him and you returned home, but he kept going.
Yes.
And later that evening, he ended up killing them with the gun you had given him.
That is correct.
So, what I don't quite understand is why Monsieur Mersault would turn around and keep going. Did he give you any reason why?
I don't think so. I think it was a nice time, and the beach was nice at that time of day, so you just kind of wanted to walk.
And did you two feel threatened at all while walking that evening?
Not necessarily, but you never know, just in case.
So you're saying that it would be, if he saw someone with a knife later, he would feel threatened and would feel reasonable?
Yes.
But even if Monsieur Massault had seen the man with his gun, and as we've mentioned previously, the man was just sitting on the ground, and you still believe he was enough of a threat?
Possibly. You never know. He could have been.
No further questions.
You may be dismissed. The prosecution can now give their closing statements.
Ladies and gentlemen, the resolve of this case, the resolve of this unspeakable act is close to an end. It's coming upon us. If I may recap, an Arab man was killed on a beach in cold blood as a result of a reckless decision made by the man sitting right in front of you. To make matters worse, he had shown complete, depraved indifference towards human life by taking the man's life for an unjustifiable reason, to say the least. Now, we know Monsieur has not been known to care too much for the lives of other human beings, and this is extremely evident by the fact of his reaction to the death of his mother, or rather the lack of reaction to the death of his mother. He showed no visible emotional signs of grief, or trauma, or even distress. Most people would be extremely upset at this, yet he does not show this. Now, this is extremely relevant because we must determine whether or not we are judging a man acting in self-defense or a man acting emotionlessly and brutally, the latter, of course, being true in this case. It is also important that we take into account these facts because we need to properly determine whether or not we should let this man freely roam our own streets. However, his emotionlessness is not the only unethical portion of this crime. No. The defense would like you to believe that he committed this act in self-defense. This is simply not the case. A toddler would be able to distinguish the difference between this. This is just not right. Yes, the Arab had a knife, but Monsieur had a gun. Yes, Monsieur may have felt threatened by the situation, but he had made the decision to return back to the last known location of the group of the Arabs. And he had also confronted the man sitting on the ground. Now, in addition to this, he had fired not one, not two, but 5 separate shots. Now, a threatened man may feel the need to fire all 5 of the shots, but the important part that we must take into account is that he hesitated between the first and the final 4 shots. This shows very clearly that the final 4 shots were not in an act of self-defense. He had known that he had subdued the man, and yet he continued firing shots. This is not right. Now, we know Monsieur has been known to be a reasonably intelligent and emotionally stable man, and that is indicative of the fact that he committed this murder intentionally. Intentionally, yes. Now, the punishment for this, of course, should be nothing short of death. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I think it is clear to see that this murder was premeditated, not in an act of self-defense. Let me ask you this. Would you want this man wandering your own streets, knowing the crime that he had committed? Would you want this man roaming the earth, knowing the indifference to human life that he has shown to all humans, not limited to, but including his own mother? I ask you one thing, to bring justice to this case and condemn this man to make the world a better place. Thank you.
The defense can offer their closing statements.
So I know that the majority of people in this courtroom don't have killing in their intentions. Neither do I. But I want you to picture yourself in Mayor Salt's position. Someone who wasn't able to afford to pay for his mother and therefore had to send him to the old age home. How do you think that made him feel? Sad? Incapable? Well, that's exactly what happened to Marisol, and I personally believe that him sending his mother to the old age home led to his indifference. He had no support, he was lonely, and had no one to talk to before Marie. The prosecution also brought up that after his mother died, at the funeral, he showed no emotion. Now, I can't blame him for that because he hasn't seen his mother in so long, and therefore there was no connection between them. How would you feel if you haven't seen your mom for years and years and had to show up to the funeral and you didn't know how to act? And I feel the best way that Marisol thought to act during the funeral was to be silent. And the day after the funeral, the prosecution also brought up that Marisol was hanging out with Marie and saw a comedy movie. Now, many people cope differently after a death, but I feel that Marisol saw the best way to cope with this was to hang out with someone he loved and to watch a funny movie to cheer him up. Now, how many of you here today have been stalked? Not many. But just imagine yourself walking out of your house and having a group of airmen staring at you. And they know that you're watching them, and you know that they're watching you. Now imagine trying to have fun at a beach and having the airmen attack you, or attack Raymond, and you not knowing how to act. Now when Marisol walked over to the airman sitting down, I can't 100% say that he was going to kill that man or not. But the facts show that the airman pulled out a knife and Marisol shot him in self-defense. Thank you.